Hi folks, how you doing? Scott here from Frontline Medical, and I'm still in this location. But we're going to have a quick talk about the news for the past week, because it has been interesting. A lot of things happening in the last week, which is fairly unbelievable. Even for us, how much has actually happened. Now, before we go any further, if you want to support the troops, you can do it on PayPal at GaryTeggy1984@gmail.com or buy me a coffee in a link in the description below. For those of you trying to get me on my phone is still screwed up. This is my backup handset. I don't have it repaired. I am trying to get it fixed as soon as possible. So for you folks trying to get me, I am sorry, but my phone is still screwed up. Now, what's been happening? Well, I've got them all lined up on the computer screen here. In the past few days, it's been confirmed that Iranian fighters have been confirmed as being near the Pokrovsk area, which means they are in Ukraine. Russia is clearly desperate. Putin is desperate. He's the first one to bitch and moan and complain and threaten nuclear war in all these countries who try to support Ukraine. And yet he's got North Korean and he's now got Iranian fighters. What do you say to that? This guy, he's just unbelievable. As soon as another country tries to help Ukraine, this guy throws a bitch fit, as most dictators do, because that's what he is. He's a dictator. He's not elected properly. And before any of the little bots in here start saying, well, Zelensky's not elected either. Well, guess what? How can Ukraine hold elections when part of the country's occupied, thousands are on the front line, millions have been displaced, you can't hold a proper election, and that has been caused by Putin because he started the war. And obviously he's supported by Trump, but we're not going to get into Trump today because that guy is a complete fucking prick and I hate talking about him. He is meant to be quite unwell and hopefully it's serious, the same as Putin. So, yes, Iranian fighters are on the front line near to Pokrovsk. Second thing that happened, we had an assassination in Spain. Clearly, straight away, this was blamed on Zelensky and Ukraine. But Andrei Portnov, former second in command of Ukraine, the guy was kicked out of the country, basically, during the Maidan revolution. Can't speak. But he was kicked out. He had been under EU sanctions, heavily pro-Russian, this guy. He was so pro-Russian that he decided he wanted to live in the EU. He actually lived in Spain. Because, well, let's just be honest, who the fuck would want to live in Russia? It's shit. So, this guy had been living in Spain, dropped his daughter off at school. An American school, bear that in mind. This guy who is pro-Russian, and as he walked back to his car, someone decided to mag dump basically into his back and his head. So be it, the guy is pro-Russian, the guy has been an asshole, he is hated in Ukraine, he has been under EU sanctions, and he loved Russia that much that he decided he didn't even want to live there. He didn't want to live under the system that he supported. That's how shit the system is. So good riddance to that guy. He's dead. He was lying splattered. The only thing I can say about the people who did commit the act, so to speak, is that they didn't do it in front of his daughter. They waited until he had dropped his daughter off and then they came back. And then they done it when he was on his return trip to his car, so she didn't see it. But yeah, this guy had his brains blown out in the middle of the street. Good riddance to bad rubbish. What else has been happening? Okay, Moscow has been smashed by drones. Now, there's conflicting information on this of how many drones. Now, the Russians said that they shot down 105 Ukrainian drones. Did they? They didn't, because there was impacts. We know there was impacts, but they'll say that it was debris falling. That's what they say. And please remember that one of the Ukrainian drones is actually called debris. The Ukrainians named it that because they know the Russians say debris fell and that's what caused the fire. So the Ukrainians have renamed one of their drones Debris. Basically, it's a fuck you. But that was aimed towards Moscow, and that's good for us because it's about time Moscow suffered. Moscow and St. Petersburg really do need to suffer. They brought the war to Ukraine. It's good for this to be returned to them now, return to sender. And these little cheap drones, they are getting past the Russian air defence system and they are making an impact. But, you want to destabilise Putin, you want to destabilise Russia, go for Moscow, go for St. Petersburg. The two places where conscription isn't really happening because he doesn't want to unsettle these people. And they want to be as far away from the special military operation as possible to the rest of the world, except Trump. It's called the war. But if you want to hit that area, that's great. Go for Moscow. It did cause major disruption. There was a lot of flights cancelled, which is good. Russia put out a statement, said that their aircraft had been grounded for safety purposes. A quick reminder here that it's not your aircraft. You stole them. You stole like 400 aircraft from Boeing and Airbus from leasing companies when the war started. You refused to hand them back. You've been cannibalising aircraft just to keep them flying. So those aircraft are stolen. They don't belong to Russia. They don't belong to Aeroflot. On the same subject, let's see. Poland actually seized aircraft goods. They actually seized Boeing parts for their planes. Now, these came from the direction of Spain, not to be confused with the recent assassination of the former Ukrainian pro-Russian piece of shit who lived in the EU and sent his daughter to an American school. But the truck actually contained aircraft parts for Boeing aircraft. And the link has been from an Azerbaijani. So, not the guy, what was his fucking name? Andrei Portnov, wasn't him. That wasn't, so not to be confused with that, but they apparently did. The parts for the planes came from Spain. But yes, that's been seized, which is good because that means more Russian aircraft are now heavily unsafe. They don't have the right parts to fly them. And bear in mind, these aircraft, they've been using bootleg parts to fix them. They haven't been serviced and maintained properly in over 3 years. Even if this war ends tomorrow, these aircraft will never be allowed to fly into normal airspace again. They are completely redundant. They cannot be sold. They cannot do anything with them. And it's all their fault. They caused this. They hope their fleet is wrecked. And, well, not their fleet because they are stolen aircraft. Let's just keep reminding ourselves about that. But yeah, let's hope it causes as much disruption to the people of Moscow as possible. And we all know that Moscow doesn't really have a middle class. These are the high-ranking people, the people with, the brass tacks, who can fly. And so it's causing disruption to them, which is good. What else has been happening? Well, quick run on to news. Yeah, so we had the recent announcement that the Vatican, the new Pope, wants to help in the mediation plans between Russia and Ukraine. Now, this is after the talks in Turkey fell through. Once again, Putin didn't turn up because he was scared. He just didn't want to turn up, and he's not interested in ending the war. And Trump was, he was in another country kissing ass and getting free gifts. That's what Trump does. So the Vatican may now be the place where mediation can start. We are hoping for a 30-day ceasefire. We are hoping that there will be an end to the war. And in the meantime, we are looking at the 1,000 POW exchange. Hopefully very soon. Let's get our boys back. That's it, guys. You know, apart from the usual stuff where Russia's throwing bombs at towns and cities and killing civilians, nothing else has happened. As for me, I'm still out here, I'm still in the same place, I haven't really moved, and I'm just trying to keep the channel up to date. But yeah, guys, once again, to all you folks, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting the guys in the front line. And if you want to help support us even more, you can do that by donating at GaryTeggy1984 @gmail.com, and that's on PayPal, or buy me a coffee in a link in the description below. Reminder, guys, for those people trying to contact me, my phone is out of order, okay? My main handset is gone, all contacts are gone. I cannot receive or send calls on that phone, so I will get back to you as soon as possible. As soon as I'm out of here. But in the meantime, folks, you take care, have a nice day. Slav Ukraine, peace out, and I'll speak to you later.